On 16th May 2008, the Eriksson twins began acting erratically. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sherry and today we'll be looking at a very weird case involving twins. Before I get into that, let's get a little background to get a better feel of what was to happen. Ursula and Sabina Eriksson were born on the 3rd of November 1967 in Sweden. They were identical twins who had a rather normal upbringing. By the time the twins were 41, they were already living in different countries. Ursula was living in the United States, while Sabina lived in Ireland with her spouse and 2 children. Everything seemed normal until the 16th of May, when after being apart for so long, Ursula visited Sabina for unknown reasons. They later left Sabina's home secretly as they headed to Liverpool in England. They got there on a Saturday, and this is where things started being weird. So first, they went to the police station to report concerns over the well-being of Sabina's children, who were in no way, shape or form in harm's way. Then they boarded a bus in Liverpool, and the driver noticed the discomfort state that the twins were in, plus they were clinging to their bags in a very suspicious manner. He then asked them to allow him to search their bags for illegal items, and the women refused. The driver decided to let them off the bus, and he left them at a station on the M6 motorway. The manager was then informed, and after seeing the women's odd behavior, she called the police. The police examined them, and they made the conclusion that they posed no threat to themselves or others and decided to let them go. Well, big mistake. The twins left the service station on foot, and they can be seen walking down the central reservation of the M6 motorway before suddenly crossing it, causing chaos to the traffic. Sabina got hit by a car, but no major harm was done. Cops were called and the highway officers responded to the incident, and later the central motorway cops went to assist. Luckily, there was a camera crew following the cops as they were shooting a reality TV show called Motorway Cops. As the police attempted to resolve the conflict, Ursula can be seen sprinting onto the oncoming traffic. The police attempted to hold her back, but he was unable. She was hit head-on by a lorry. Shortly after, Sabina followed and she was hit by a Volkswagen. Miraculously, both of them survived the incident. Ursula couldn't move after the lorry crushed her legs. Sabina, on the other hand, remained unconscious for 15 minutes. Ursula began resisting aid from the paramedics and she began scratching, screaming, and even spitting on them. She started shouting at them, talking about, "I recognize you. I know you're not real." Suddenly, Sabina got to her feet and she also began shouting, "They're going to steal your organs." Then she proceeded to shout for help, calling out for police even though they were right there. She then attempted to make a run for it, and when one officer attempted to restrain her, she hit her and ran into traffic again. Soon, they caught up with her, restrained, and carried her to their waiting ambulance. Ursula was taken to hospital by air ambulance. Sabina was also taken to hospital where she finally became calmer, but they noticed her lack of concern over her sister and her well-being. They discharged her after 5 hours. She was taken to court where she pleaded guilty to the charge of trespass on the motorway and hitting a police officer. The court sentenced her to 1 day in custody, which she had been deemed to have served, having spent a full night in police custody. They released her without performing a full psychiatric evaluation.
We say always in Sweden that an accident rarely comes alone. Usually at least once more follows crash too.
Next morning, Sabina began to wander the streets trying to locate her sister in hospital and carrying her possessions in a clear plastic bag given to her by the police. At around 7 p.m., 2 local men spotted Sabina while walking their dog in Christchurch Street, Fenton. One of the men was 50-year-old Glenn Hollinshead, a self-employed welder, qualified paramedic, and a former RAF airman, and the other was his friend, Peter Molloy. Sabina was friendly and stroked the dog as the three struck up a conversation. She asked the two men for directions to a nearby bed and breakfast or even a hotel. Glenn took pity upon her and instead offered to take her back to his house at nearby Duke Street. Sabina accepted as she began to relate how she was trying to locate her sister. Back at the house, over drinks, her odd behavior continued as she constantly got up and looked out of the window. She offered the men cigarettes only to quickly snatch them out of their mouths, claiming they may be poisoned. Shortly before midnight, Molloy left and Sabina stayed the night. The next day, at 7:40 p.m., Glenn left the house to ask a neighbor for tea bags and then went back inside. 1 minute later, he staggered back outside, bleeding, and told him, "She stabbed me," before collapsing to the ground and dying from his injuries. He had been stabbed 5 times using a kitchen knife. His last words were, "Look after my dog for me." As the neighbor dialed 999, Sabina ran out of the house with a hammer, hitting herself over the head with it. A motorist saw this and tried to tackle her in an attempt to take control of the hammer. While wrestling with him, Sabina screamed and took out a roof tile out of her pocket and struck him at the back of the head. By this time, paramedics had found her and there was a chase. The pursuit ended at Heron Cross when Sabina jumped from a 12-meter high bridge, breaking both ankles and fracturing her skull. She was taken to hospital. During her trial, both the prosecution and the defense claimed that Sabina was insane at the time of the killing. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter with diminished responsibility. The court accepted her plea and she was sentenced to only 5 years in prison and was released on parole in 2011. Asla was also released from hospital after recovery. Drugs were ruled out and they had never shown any sign of mental health in the past. What do you think happened to them on that day? Write your thoughts on the comment section below. For more videos, like and subscribe, and until next time, please take care of yourself and I love you.